Hello YouTube, my name's Sean Connors and welcome back to the Outsiders channel, and it is my great privilege and pleasure to introduce you to my video this week, and it is 14 tips for building great characters and NPCs. And this is an amalgamation of 30 years of gaming, of all the things I've seen from other GMs and great players, and pull it all together. These tips will be universally used for whether you're a GM or a player. All you've got to do is look through the tips, pick out the things that interest you the most, and you will build fabulous NPCs or characters. Trust me, you really will. This is a video that has taken me the best part of the week to put together, and I'm absolutely delighted I've taken the time to do so. But it is going to be over 2 parts, and I hope you'll follow the journey through to its conclusion. Anyway, let's get started and get right into this. Tip 1 is build characters by showing their actions. It's very tempting as a player or GM just to actually develop characters by saying who they are and what they do. It's better to show them what they do. So for example, Joachim was tall. He was 6'6". It was a great intro. We all step back and think, well done, Sean, great start to the character. But wouldn't it be better if they know that? But then I develop the character further. So every opportunity presents itself, yeah, Joachim is tall. He stoops as he stoops through the door. And that little detail change begins to define Joachim as a person, as a character. And every opportunity I get, I should always try to illustrate that through the character's actions in the game world that the GM or the NPCs are in. Very, very important thing to do, as will become clear as the video unfolds. So think about the first one. Build characters by showing their actions. It's too easy, too tempting to develop them by saying who they are. So think about that for a moment. Come back and join me in tip 2. So tip 2 is all about get character building information by asking for examples or volunteering them as a player. Asking as a GM or volunteering as a player. Either anecdotes or flashbacks. Very, very powerful. It means you have to forward think them. You have to think about them quite a lot. Some people are very good at ad-libbing, great. But they're very, very powerful because what they do is they tell a story, a picture about the character before he came into the game. And stories that are part of his life. Backstories that mean something to him. Very, very powerful when you go into character. Worth mentioning, I think. Something I've been using a lot in recent games with tremendous success, both as a GM and allowing the players the opportunity to exploit and go into their backstory and their characters. Definitely worth thinking about. Tip 3 is all about build characters by describing them. In detail, really. When you seek the attributes that describe and define your character or NPC, think of the senses. What do they smell like? What do they feel like? You know, that sort of thing, i.e. they have leathery hands. A lot of what we know comes to us through our senses. Do you remember Sesame Street? Kids used to learn by this method, for example, seeing 4 apples, hearing 4 bells, touching, feeling really, 4 fuzzy peaches. The message really hits home when you start thinking about describing your character in this way. So get specific around the details. Details themselves are important, but get specific around them. So for example, it's not just he wears black shoes, is it? It should be black shoes with laces and small heels, for example. Those extra details make all the difference to the character. Let's break it down a little bit further. Details individually, of course, are very important, but taken all together, they become even more important still, don't they? They help convey a sense that your character's not just at a level where they can be seen and heard, smelled and tasted, but taken like this, they convey the sense that they come to life. And that's the critical point. Let's look a little bit more at details. Describe the physical attributes that make the character. Describe the clothing and how he or she wears it. Describe the eccentricities. Describe the mannerisms. Describe the psychological attributes through their actions. And now you're starting to really get the character build together. Let's go deeper still. Tip 4 is show what your characters do with those attributes. For example, the character has pale amber eyes. Or would it be better if you'd said something like, she rolled her pale amber eyes and looked at the ceiling. This does 2 really powerful things. It gives you a mannerism that you can play towards when you're thinking about the character. So she rolls her pale amber eyes towards the ceiling. You can actually do it and rolls them. It's descriptive, it's the way the book would do it, And it really does convey that extra detail about the tributes, the things that separate that character, those amber eyes that separate that character as a feature. Those are the things you should really keep putting into the DM or the player's minds to really emphasise the character build. Let's go deeper still. So tip 5 is focus on what makes your character extraordinary. This has got nothing to do with feats, special abilities, skills, nothing at all. It's not about ordinary details that bring a character to life. It's the exceptional and the remarkable ones that do. So for example, a lot of people might talk slowly, but when your character does, you can see the grass grow. That difference change in the way that you think about your character, making him extraordinary, is what really separates him. So for example, in that example, let's do it. So when you consider everything, as I have done, I must say, I think I like your course of action the best, in my opinion. So we slow everything deliberately down. It begins to help us understand what separates our character and gives him that extraordinary quality that we're looking for to bring him alive. Tip 6 is build a character with dialogue. Get a small notebook and fill it with what your character would say. Do they use a twang? Are they softly spoken? Those type of things. Build a diary full of dialogue, small anecdotes, bits and pieces they might say, the words they would choose, even maybe the way that they would punctuate a sentence or misspell something. These are very important little character flaws that make your character come alive. And really do that. Do the groundwork that a great actor would do, and your characters will really start taking on that special quality that DMs and players will love you for. Tip 7 is show the character's social class and values. It's pretty easy to actually combine this with tip 6. In many ways, it's exactly what you should do. Combine the two things together as you think through and fill your notebook of ways to show off the social class and the values of your character. Perhaps they do speak with a posh voice. Perhaps they talk a little bit gruff, governor. Perhaps that's the way you want to portray it. But you see what I mean? Those little things can portray those detail changes. And these are very important when we put our characters together. Anyway, that concludes part 1 of my video. Join me on the other side of this video and we'll just have a quick wrap up there. So this concludes part 1 of our 2-part video series on building great characters and NPCs. What I hope you've uncovered through the journey so far is what is important to building characters is not as obvious as most people think. It's a completely different mindset that you need to adopt. The same that any great writer would, the same that any great actor would, the same that every great GM and player does. They develop their characters in a very unique way, and I hope that these little steps are showing you that journey to doing so. As always with these things, pick and choose the things that represent you best, but I think you'll find if you adopt the journey and go for it, you'll find it invaluable. Anyway, the second part of this video will come up, as always, once this video hits 50 likes, and I also promise that once the next video is released, I will do a live draw then for who will be one of the winners. There will be many. Anybody that's mentioned, everybody will ultimately win. It's just when and what, and we're going to find that out in the next video. Anyway, I've been Sean Connors, this has been Outsiders, talking to you tonight, late I'm afraid, with the video I hope that you will enjoy. Till then, till the next time, see you soon, and happy gaming. Bye bye.